Good afternoon. Welcome to my new session of osteology class today. I am going to take today middle cranial fossa. We know that the base of the skull is divided into three parts: anterior cranial fossa, middle cranial fossa and posterior cranial fossa. So today middle cranial fossa. Let us see the boundaries of the middle cranial fossa. Anteriorly, it is bounded by the posterior border of the lesser wing of the sphenoid on each side. Medially, anterior clinoid process and sulcus chiasmatis. Posteriorly, we can see the superior border of the petrous part of the temporal bone. Then we can see the dorsum sellae. In the dorsum sellae, we can see two angular projection, which is known as posterior clinoid process. While coming to the lateral boundary, laterally we can see the greater wing of the sphenoid. This is the greater wing of the sphenoid. Then antero-inferior angle of the parietal bone. Antero-inferior angle of the parietal bone. Then squamous part of the temporal bone. Okay. Then while coming to the central portion, we are having the body of the sphenoid. This forms the body of the sphenoid. So let us see the floor of the middle cranial fossa. Already we know that the central portion, it is formed by the body of the sphenoid. So the floor central portion is formed by the body of the sphenoid. While coming to the lateral portion, on each side we are having the greater wing of the sphenoid, squamous part of the temporal bone and anterior surface of the petrous part of the temporal bone. I hope that the boundaries is clear for you. So once more I will repeat. Anteriorly it is bounded by the posterior border of the lesser wing of the sphenoid. On each side we are having the anterior clinoid process and sulcus chiasmatis. Posteriorly it is bounded by the superior border of the petrous part of the temporal bone, dorsum sellae and posterior clinoid process. While coming to the lateral side, we are having the greater wing of the sphenoid, antero-inferior angle of the parietal bone and squamous part of the temporal bone. While coming to the floor, the central portion is formed by the greater wing of the sphenoid, body of the sphenoid. And we know that on each side, the lateral portion, it is formed by the greater wing of the sphenoid, squamous part of the temporal bone and anterior surface of the petrous part of the temporal bone. Let us see the features and attachments of the middle cranial fossa. We know that the groove is known as sulcus chiasmatis, which is running. This is the running groove just behind the jugum sphenoidale. This is the jugum sphenoidale, the transversing groove that is running behind the jugum sphenoidale. Okay, it is named after its relation with the optic chiasma, which never comes in contact with it. So the sulcus chiasmatis leads laterally to the optic canal. This is the optic canal. Okay, here we can see a hiding canal just below to the anterior clinoid process. It is known as optic canal. We can see the optic canal in the next diagram. Here we can see the optic canal. This is the optic canal which connects the middle cranial fossa. Okay, middle cranial fossa with the orbit. It is bounded anteriorly and posteriorly by the lesser wing of the sphenoid. In this diagram it is not proper. So anteriorly and posteriorly it is bounded by anterior and posterior root of the lesser wing of the sphenoid and body of the sphenoid. It transmits. You can take down, it transmits optic nerve, ophthalmic artery and meninges. Okay, so it is a spotter question for you. Optic canal, we will put a probe inside the optic canal and we'll ask that identify the probed area. You have to mention it as optic canal. What are the structures passing through it? Optic nerve, ophthalmic artery and meninges. Is it clear? Okay. Next, tuberculum sellae. This is the tuberculum sellae, which is an elevation just forms behind the sulcus chiasmatis. Middle clinoid process. Here we can see the middle clinoid process are the elevations are lateral prominent ends of the tuberculum sellae. Okay, So we know that this is the sulcus chiasmatis, then tuberculum sellae. On each side of the tuberculum sellae, we are having the middle clinoid process. The middle clinoid process gives the attachment to the anterior margin of the diaphragmae sellae. Is it clear? So, tuberculum sellae, this is the tuberculum sellae. It forms an elevation just behind the sulcus chiasmatis. Just behind the sulcus chiasmatis. On the lateral side, we can see two elevation which is known as middle clinoid process. It gives the attachment to the anterior margin of the diaphragmae sellae. Okay, clear? Next, moving to the another feature, this is the sella turcica. Sella turcica is the depressed area behind the tuberculum sellae. It is shaped as a Turkish saddle and therefore it is named as sella turcica. Okay. So, the hypophyseal fossa is the deepest part in it. This is the sella turcica and the hypophyseal fossa is the deepest part in it. It lodges the pituitary gland. That's why it is known as hypophyseal fossa. Okay. Then, while coming to the air sinus, sphenoidal air sinus is present below to the floor of the hypophyseal fossa. Okay. So, sphenoidal air sinus is present to the floor of the hypophyseal fossa. Okay. Next, while coming to the another feature, dorsum sellae. This is the dorsum sellae. It is the back of the Turkish saddle. Okay. Then superiorly, angles of the dorsum sellae is projected laterally to form the posterior clinoid process. This is the posterior clinoid process which gives the attachment of attached end of the attached margin of tendorium cerebelli. Clear? Attached end of the attached margin of the tendorium cerebelli which is attached to the posterior clinoid process. Is it clear? So this is the dorsum sellae. Dorsum sellae, superior angle of the dorsum sellae laterally projected into the posterior clinoid process. The posterior clinoid process is giving attachment to the tendorium cerebelli. Next, we can see the carotid sulcus on each side of the body of the sphenoid. This is the carotid sulcus which lodges the cavernous part of the internal carotid artery. Okay, carotid sulcus on each side of the body of the sphenoid which lodges the cavernous part of the internal carotid artery. Okay. Next, while coming to the superior orbital fissure, this is the triangular depression just below to the lesser wing of the sphenoid. So, while coming to the boundary, above it is bounded by the lesser wing of the sphenoid, below we know that greater wing of the sphenoid and medially by the body of the sphenoid. The superior orbital fissure, it is divided into three parts. In the lower border, we can see a common tendinous ring of the syn which gives the attachment to the extraocular muscles. Superior orbital fissure is a 5-mark question. Okay. So, how it is divided? It is divided into three parts: lateral, middle and medial part. Let us see what are the structures passing through the superior orbital fissure. So, this is the image for the picture for the superior orbital fissure. It is divided into three compartments: lateral, medial and middle. Okay. So, the lateral part, it is having the lacrimal nerve, frontal nerve, trochlear nerve and superior branch of the ophthalmic vein. Is it clear? Then, while coming to the middle part is having the upper and lower branch of the oculomotor nerve, nasociliary nerve and abducens nerve. Medially, we are having the inferior branch of the ophthalmic vein and sympathetic plexus. So, once more I will repeat, this is the picture for the superior orbital fissure. It is divided into three compartments: lateral, middle and medial. The lateral part, it is having lacrimal nerve, frontal nerve, trochlear nerve, superior branch of ophthalmic vein. Then middle part, it is having upper and lower branch of the oculomotor nerve, nasociliary nerve, abducens nerve. Then medially, it is having the inferior branch of the ophthalmic vein and sympathetic plexus. Next, moving to the foramens. The foremost foramen This is the foremost foramen, foramen rotundum, just below to the superior orbital fissure. The structure passing through the foramen rotundum is the maxillary nerve. Okay. We can see the foramen ovale. Foramen ovale, there is a mnemonic to remember the structures passing through the foramen ovale. M-A-L-E, male. Okay. Mandibular nerve, accessory meningeal artery, lesser petrosal nerve and emissary vein. Next foramen is the foramen spinosum. It transmits the nervus spinosus and middle meningeal vessels. Is it clear? So we are having the superior orbital fissure, foramen rotundum, foramen ovale and foramen spinosum. Next, moving to the foramen lacerum. This is the foramen lacerum. Two structures are passing through the foramen lacerum. Meningeal branch of ascending pharyngeal artery and emissary vein. It is an irregular foramen. Okay. So the foramen lacerum, it transmits ascending meningeal artery, meningeal branch of ascending pharyngeal artery and emissary vein. We can see the foramen lacerum here. Okay, the foramen lacerum already we told that it is an irregular foramen. So where it is situated? It is situated between the body of the sphenoid. This is the body of the sphenoid and this is the apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone. Okay, so the foramen lacerum, it is an irregular foramen situated between the body of the sphenoid and apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone. Then medial to the apex of the temporal bone, we can see a shallow depression which is known as trigeminal fossa. Medial to the apex of the temporal bone, apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone, there is a fossa known as trigeminal fossa. Okay. Then lateral to the apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone, we are having an eminence known as arcuate eminence. This is the arcuate eminence which is produced by the semicircular canal. Okay, it is produced by the semicircular canal. So medially we can see the fossa known as trigeminal fossa and laterally there is an elevation known as which is produced by the semicircular canal which is present in the internal ear. Okay. Then the superior border, there is a groove in the superior border of the petrous part of the temporal bone which is known as superior petrosal groove which lodges the superior petrosal sinus and superior border of the petrous part of the temporal bone which gives the attachment to tentorium cerebelli. Okay. Once more let us revise the important foramens in the middle cranial fossa. Okay. We know that this is the superior orbital fissure which transmits the lacrimal nerve, frontal nerve, trochlear nerve, superior ophthalmic vein, meningeal branch of lacrimal artery, nasociliary nerve, abducens nerve, upper and lower division of the oculomotor nerve, then inferior ophthalmic vein, sympathetic plexus. Next, while coming to the foramen rotundum. This is the foramen rotundum which transmits the maxillary nerve. Okay. Next, moving to the foramen ovale. Foramen ovale, there is a mnemonic for the foramen ovale. Male, remember male, mandibular nerve, accessory meningeal artery, lesser petrosal nerve and emissary vein. Okay. Next, moving to the next foramen, foramen spinosum. Foramen spinosum, it transmits the middle meningeal vessels and nervus spinosus. Next, irregular foramen which is known as foramen lacerum. Foramen lacerum, it is situated between the body of the sphenoid and the apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone. It is an irregular foramen which transmits the meningeal branch of the ascending pharyngeal artery and emissary vein. Okay. So in the middle cranial fossa, we already completed the boundaries, the structures passing through the middle cranial fossa, important foramens. Okay. So the boundaries of the middle cranial fossa, anteriorly it is bounded by the posterior border of the lesser wing of the sphenoid, sulcus chiasmatus and anterior clinoid process. Posteriorly, anterior border of the petrous part of the temporal bone. Okay. Then centrally, the floor, it is formed by the body of the sphenoid Laterally, we know that we are having the greater wing of the sphenoid, anteroinferior angle of the parietal bone and squamous part of the temporal bone. Then we covered the foramen canal. Then one canal, optic canal, which is situated behind the anterior clinoid process. It is a hiding canal, okay, which transmits the optic nerve and the ophthalmic artery and including the meninges. Next, we know the sulcus chiasmatus. In front of the sulcus chiasmatus, we are having the tuberculum sellae. Tuberculum sellae, it is having laterally, it is having clinoid process known as middle clinoid process. Then dorsum sellae, the superior angle of the dorsum sellae. Laterally, it is having the clinoid process known as posterior clinoid process, which gives the attachment of the tendorium cerebelli. Next, we had seen the superior orbital fissure, optic canal, then foramen ovale, foramen rotundum, foramen spinosum, then trigeminal fossa, arcuate eminence. Okay, so hope the middle cranial fossa is clear. Thank you.